American policy toward Hong Kong has primarily taken a punitive tone. Although necessary, we think that the U.S. ought to adopt some elements of strategic engagement with Hong Kong society, which we think would be a pragmatic way to try to preserve as much autonomy for the city for as long as possible, and also to slow the city's falling into Beijing's orbit. Hi, I'm Scott Kennedy, Senior Advisor and Trustee Chair in Chinese Business and Economics at CSIS, and I'm here to talk about my recent report with Lily McElwee and Jude Blanchette entitled The Erosion of Hong Kong's Autonomy Since 2020, Implications for the United States. Our report concludes that although there is some resilience of autonomy in Hong Kong, we primarily find that there's been significant erosion in every facet of life. Whether you're looking at governance, the economy, or civil society, we see significant erosions of autonomy over the last couple decades, and particularly since 2020. We decided to look at where Hong Kong was going in terms of autonomy about 7 months ago, because the national security law that was issued in 2020 was followed by a whole series of actions by the U.S. and others imposing sanctions on Hong Kong. And we thought enough time had passed that it was time to take a fresh look at where Hong Kong has been since and whether American policy was still justified. But in addition to that, in March of this year, Hong Kong issued a new national security law that its own local government passed, which has a significant effect on autonomy. And so it's actually fortuitous timing that our report comes out after this second national security law was just issued. This report is based heavily on a trip that Jude Blanchette and I took to Hong Kong last fall. And over 9 days, we had 35 interviews with Hong Kong officials, business people, folks from civil society, including universities and the media, as well as the foreign business community and foreign officials there. So we thought that this report is distinguished by getting a 360-degree view of Hong Kong through interviews with a whole variety of different people, which we think helps provide sort of new information for the policy community to consider. American policy toward Hong Kong has primarily taken a punitive tone, punishing officials in Beijing and Hong Kong who are most responsible for the city's loss of autonomy. Although necessary, we think that the U.S. ought to adopt some elements of strategic engagement with Hong Kong society, which we think would be a pragmatic way to try to preserve as much autonomy for the city for as long as possible, and also to slow the city's falling into Beijing's orbit. We have a clear sense of the direction in which Hong Kong is going, but the U.S. can have some effect on the pace of that transition. Washington is trying to figure out how to manage the overall relationship with China on national security, economics, human rights. Hong Kong has been a central element of the relationship for a long time. And as China changes, so does Hong Kong. U.S. policy also has to figure out how to adapt, and it's being pushed and pulled in a variety of different directions. And we're trying to provide some analytical support and some thoughts about policy to help Washington and other capitals come up with effective, pragmatic policies to deal both with the question of Hong Kong and China in general. To read the full report, The Erosion of Hong Kong's Autonomy Since 2020, Implications for the United States, please visit csis.org.